Now, while I'm not the biggest fan of working with Gutenberg, as many of you know, it is something that I think we do need to start looking at embracing. While it has a lot of shortcomings, it is going to become the integrated page builder for WordPress. With that being said, there are a lot of different services and lots of different plugins and things that expand how you can work with the Gutenberg editor. And today we're going to be taking a look at one, specifically Qubely. Now, the reason I'm focusing on Qubely as the first one is because there's a lifetime offer currently over on AppSumo, which basically means that you can grab a copy of this with a minimum of 10 licenses for $49 for a lifetime. So that means you can use it on your own sites, your clients' websites. You can do basically what you want with it. It's GPL, which means that if you want to edit anything included inside this, you can do that under the normal GPL licensing. So it's good to see that they are fully open to working with that. But what Qubely does is it opens up not only a range of predefined layouts and blocks like you'd find in most page editors like Brizy, Elementor and so on. It also gives you a pseudo page builder kind of set of tools. So while it's not anywhere near the same level as something like Brizy or Elementor, it is something that I think is worth considering. Now, I know this is going to be likened to the Cadence blocks, the free version and the pro version, which again, with Qubely, there is a free version that has obviously a limited set of options, and the pro version, which has all of the options available. And if you'd like me to take a look at comparing the two of those, or just seeing what they're like, let me know in the comment section below, and I'll see what I can do if I can grab a license to take a look at the pro version of Cadence as well. But that being said, this is kind of a first look, so this isn't going to be a deep dive into how to use all the features. This is more a case of me taking a first look at the Qubely sort of building blocks, the page layouts, the options that are available, and you kind of coming along for the ride. I have paid for this out of my own pocket, so this is something that is not sponsored in any way, shape or form. I paid for this, and this is my own experience, totally unbiased and giving you exactly what I think. So with that being said, I've already gone ahead, purchased this, downloaded it and installed it on a demonstration site. So let's just take a look at what we have, what we start working with inside the actual Qubely editor. So hopping over into the dashboard, the first thing that I will comment on that I do like, no notices at all on your dashboard from Qubely. That is one of those things that really annoys me, as you've seen in a recent video. So great to see that they're not splashing advertising all over the place. Okay, so with that being said, what do we have? On the left-hand side, we have the Qubely options where you really just have some basic information. If we go to settings, you can see we can drop in things like reCAPTCHA and the Google Maps API. So if you're using those in conjunction with any of the blocks or the templates, you can drop those into one centralized location and it makes the process super easy. Under advanced, you can see we can choose where the CSS is loaded in, whether it's loaded as part of the header or whether it's loaded as a file system. It's up to you how you want to work with that. Getting started, as its name would suggest, is basically giving you information about versions, updates, the number of templates and those kinds of things. So not overly useful, but nice to see it is at least kept out of the way of the normal dashboard in its own section. Link to the Facebook community, which is quite nice to see, and stay in touch option. So, you know, some useful bits of info in there. And the license page is just basically where you drop in your license when you install the pro version. Now, speaking of that, you do need to have both the free version and the pro version installed. So if we jump over to the plugin section, you'll see there's Qubely, Advanced Gutenberg Blocks, and the Qubely Pro. With both of those installed, you have access to everything. So let's create a page and take a look at what we can do. We'll add a new page in there, and we'll just call this Qubely Test. Okay, so we'll just save that draft. Now, I'm not a power user of Gutenberg in any shape or form, so I'm probably not the best person to demonstrate Gutenberg itself. So I'm not even going to worry about Gutenberg. I'm just going to take a look, like I say, at what Qubely brings to the table. So what can we do? Let's come out to the plus, and you can see if we go into there, we scroll down, we've got a section for the Qubely building blocks. And this is what you can do. You can work in two ways. You can use the different widgets and the basic template option you have for rows, which you can insert multi-column rows inside this. So if we click to add a row in, you can see it gives us options. And if you've any kind of page builder, you'll know that this is very similar to things like Elementor, to things like Brizy, you know, those kinds of things. So that's quite nice to see. We can also set this up to be full width, so we get the entire width of the layout. And then if you drop in something like this, you can see it fits in and shows us quite nicely how everything is laid out. I'm not the biggest fan of Gutenberg, the way any of this kind of works, but you know, those options are there should you want them. So let's just delete that from there. You know, so you have options. We've got margins and stuff at the top and the bottom, so quite cool to see. And we can just remove this entire block. So we go back to the plain old page. We also have the import layout. Now the import layout, as its name suggests, this is where we can take a look at both the sections and the starter packs. Now starter packs are effectively an entire site design, so you may have a home page, a contact page, services, you know, those kinds of useful things. We also have categories, which is for the sections. And as you can see, we've got things like countdown timers, and they're all really nicely designed. Fully editable, so you can change pretty much anything you want on there, the images, the text, all those kinds of things. Everything is editable. So at the time of recording this video, I think there's about 180 plus different layouts inside this section. Jump over to starter packs, and you can see inside there we've now got, again, filtered down the left hand side, business based, agency based, portfolios, and so on. If we open up one of these, you'll see it shows us all of the different pages inside that particular starter pack. And if we want to take a look at a preview so we can see exactly what this looks like before we go to the time and effort of downloading that particular layout, we can do that, and it'll open up a new tab and we can see it. And it all loads nice and quick. You know, there are some strange things like this, some missing images and so on. So hopefully this is something they will take a look at to see why these are missing. But anyway, you can see the layouts are pretty nice. Everything looks nice, clean, modern and fresh. Some nice animations and so on in there. So they're a good starting point for any kind of new person that's looking to get up and running quickly, or you just really have no inspiration. You want to snap together a site super quick. You just want to change the content and not worry about the layout. These could be the perfect starting point. And as you can see in the top right hand corner, we've got all free and premium. So you can filter these down and take a look. For example, free, there's no ones in the portfolio. All starter packs, well, there's no starter packs for the free, unfortunately. Okay, so that out of the way, let's just take a look at some of these sections first of all. Then we'll take a look at some of the starter packs. What do we want? Let's just say we want to have a nice header on here. And you can see we got quite a nice range of different starting points, all looking very similar, but you know, this is kind of in keeping with what you'd expect to see these days. I like the look of this one. Let's have a preview of this particular header. That looks pretty cool. I like the look of that. So let's just say I want to import it. All I need to do is click on import. That will then download the assets and set everything up inside my page. So as we can see, we've got exactly what we expect to see. Okay, so this gives us the first of those sections. You've got all your options on the top left-hand side to make changes to that like you would inside the Gutenberg editor as normal. However, on the right-hand side, we now have some extra options that are to do with Qubely. We've got our style section and we've got our advanced section. And depending upon what we select, that may change. So if we select the text, you can see we have layout, style, and advanced. So we can change different aspects on here if we want to. So that's quite cool to see. Style, as its name suggests, we can do things like adjust the alignment. We can edit things based upon what type of device is being viewed upon, whether it's a desktop, tablet, or mobile. And you can see we can click between them and set different values for each one. Now, I think this is probably a limitation when it comes to working with Gutenberg. By changing to any of these, we'll see the values change, but we don't see anything change on screen. So it does make editing for different devices not necessarily the most intuitive way of working. Hopefully this is something that will get addressed, because right now it's not very user-friendly at all. Okay, so we've got those different sections, and again, if we click on the button, for example, we can now change the styling of the button. We can choose different options on there, the URL we want it to go to, the alignment, all those kinds of useful things. So it is a really nice, clean way of working. You've got all your padding and your margins and so on. The design, so we can set the design on hover, on normal. So if you are coming from a background of working with normal page builders, you should be able to, once you get past the quirks of how Gutenberg works, you should find this is going to be pretty straightforward, because a lot of the options are the kinds of things you're going to be used to. Even the iconography that's being used inside here for things like the padding and the margins and so on is incredibly reminiscent of Brizy, the page builder. So, you should be quite quick to get up to speed with how these things work. And, it's all nice and simple and intuitive, and you can interact with things on screen. We can add icons if we want to. So we can say we want to put this little icon inside there, the position of it, the size, just the gap, all pretty intuitive. It shouldn't take you more than 10-15 minutes to kind of get accustomed to how all this works. Then you should be, quite easily starting to build out your own kind of sites using these options. And I think this is where Qubely kind of does become quite useful. It's a great starting point set of templates for pages, for sections and so on. Or you can just go in and start building things out from scratch using the different widgets that you have available. But I think the real true strength of this is going to be coming from these designs that you can use quite easily. Okay, so that being said, let's take a look, for example, at the entire section. So we choose the section. We've got the background where we can change the image. And as you can see, we can choose between background types of images. We can set things up to be gradients, or we can even use videos, both local and external linked videos. So that's quite nice to see. You can change the image if you want to. You can set it to be local or external again. Fixed, animated for parallax effect. You've got a ton of different options. Animated, whatever you kind of want to do. I like the look of this, the advanced background option, so you can choose exactly how this centers, repeats, the kind of mode that's going to be used. And again, if you've been working with any kind of page builder, this is all super intuitive. You're used to it all. It's just going to be laid out slightly differently. Even coming down to things like adding in shape dividers. So we can add in shape dividers at the top or the bottom. And you can see on there, we've got a range of different options to choose from. So we could pick one of these, for example, or this one, or this one, any of these that you want to, and then you have control over it. So let's just say that we quite like the look of that. Once we've chosen it, we're going to come back out of this. And once we're out of this, you can see that we can change the color of this. So we can set this to be white, for example. So it now fits in with the background of our page. Really simple to do. We want to add box shadows, borders, all those kinds of things. You can set this to bring it to the front, the height of it. You can adjust the width of it, although that doesn't seem to be doing anything in this particular instance. But again, that might be down to the way that Gutenberg works. But pretty self-explanatory, pretty intuitive and easy to work with. Nothing that should really make anything complex to use these sort of building blocks to start building your designs up. Okay, so let's move on now. Let's take a look at some of the other options. Let's take a look at building a full page up with this. Let's import another layout, and for our sections, let's go down and choose something like a call to action and see what we have that I think is going to be viable for this section. Okay, what do we have? Maybe let's do the call to action. Let's try something like features. Okay, so I kind of like this feature 20. Let's preview that. And okay, that looks pretty cool, kind of in keeping with what we're doing. So we'll do is we'll do the same again. We'll import that. So now that we've added this extra section in, we can see this doesn't look right. We need to change the color scheme on the top section. So we can select the bottom area, go to the background, and we can simply just copy this color from there. So we've got that value inside there. We can come back up to this section. We can go to our shape divider at the bottom, and we just apply the color inside there. And that should then, oops, let's do that again. That should now bring it in line. Okay, so that's pretty cool to do, very easy. Let's just save that draft and we'll take a quick preview just to make sure that everything is looking the way we like it to. We have some things like this little bit of extra space in between these sections, but that's really easy to adjust. We can come back in, select the section that we want and come up to the advanced area. Then we can adjust our margins and we can just make sure that everything sits perfectly fine. We could do the same thing on the section below if we need to. Choose that, come to advanced section, come to our margins and so on. Hop over to advanced, and again from there we can adjust our margins. So we can adjust any of these as we need to make sure everything fits and lines up nice and neat and tidy. Okay, so we'll save that draft and we'll just jump over to our test section and we should find that's tidied up any of those issues. So you can see it's really quite simple to deal with, nothing complex. Again, I really do dislike the whole way that what we're seeing inside the editor isn't necessarily what we're seeing in the actual end result. That makes it slightly more difficult to make sure you're creating what it is you're looking to create, if that makes sense. You're really kind of going in blind. So if anybody knows of a way to deal with that side of things, by all means, please let me know in the comment section below, because I'd love to find out how to deal with that. But that being said, like I say, a little bit of tweaking is not the end of the world, and these layouts all look pretty good. So again, we could come into here and we could say we wanted to take a look at a contact section, and you may say we're going to use something, I don't know. Let's just say we wanted to use something like this, and we'll just import this one into our design. And there we go. We now have that at the bottom. And if we want to, we can just control exactly how these sections work. So at the moment, this is set to boxed, I believe, but we can, if we want to, set that to be full width. So we click on there and say full width. And as you can see, that drops everything inside there. And again, things do look a little bit messed up, but I think this is probably more down to either Gutenberg or the theme that we're using to just run this on that's causing these kind of weird glitches. But again, I just don't really like the whole Gutenberg editor. But we're not here to test out Gutenberg, we're here to test out Qubely. Okay, so we've seen how to take these building blocks, how to build things up, and if we jump over to our preview, you'll see that everything is in place. There's a lot of things that look nice. Again, this shape at the top, because we've edited the settings, we're not seeing that reflected inside here, which is a little bit frustrating. Okay, so we've created some elements on the page. Let's just say we wanted to create our own layout. Let's come down and add a new section in. So we'll add this in, we'll add a row in, and from there we'll do something like a 50-50 row, so we can just have a little play about. We'll set this to be full width. So let me just go over to the section that should allow me to do that. Actually, bear with me. There we go. Full width. Okay, so now we can just drop in any of these widgets. So we come out of the Qubely section. What do we have in the widgets? Well, we've got your normal things you'd expect, like buttons and advanced text and so on. But you have things like video pop-up, accordions, progress bars, counters, and a lot of these are already predefined layouts, which you can fully customize and tweak. So, for example, let's just say we wanted to put in something like, I don't know, what have we got? Let's just say we wanted to use a progress bar. You can see we can drop that in, and now on the right hand side we have a lot of different options to pick from, and you can easily pick a starting point design that you think looks quite nice, for example like this, and then we've got full control over how we edit that. So if we come into style, you can see we've got 3 different layouts currently, and I know they're talking about increasing these layouts and these designs and so on to expand what we have here over the weeks and months to open up a lot more options. So I think if you're buying into this and you like what's here today, that should get refined over the next 6 to 12 months. And what you end up with in a year's time should be considerably bigger and better to what you have right now, which is already a pretty decent starting point. The company behind this, I think, is Themium. They have a pretty good track record with things like Tutor LMS. This isn't their first foray into WordPress tools. So it's good to see that they're expanding into things like this. But as I say, you've got a starting point, so we can easily come in and edit this. We've got alignment options to position this, progress size, so we can adjust the size of this to fit in however we want to. The progress then, we can adjust this. So you can see we can adjust the progress color. We can have a solid color if we want to. We can use gradients. You can adjust the gradient angle, the stop points for those particular colors. The corners, whether you want to have these sharp or round. Lots of nice options. The circle, we can adjust that, so we can shrink the percentage down if we want to. We can make it bigger. So you can refine these and get them to look, well, totally unique. Even though you're using the template as a starting point, you can create some truly unique options from these different starting points. But everything is editable inside there, which is great to see. What else do we have? Let's just get rid of this. We'll just delete that from there. And once we've deleted that, we'll remove the block. We'll just add something else in. So let's try another one. Okay, let's come down to our Qubely. And let's take a look at info box, for example. Okay, so again, we've got the same kind of starting point. We've got a predefined style or layout. We then have a range of different options we can pick and choose from to quickly and easily style these in a different way. And then we can refine and fine tune that again with alignment options. We can adjust those alignment options and things based upon the device you're looking at. So all the things you're used to from, a normal page editor. Tons of options for your titles. You can use all the normal Google fonts if you want to. Your weights, all those kinds of nice things are available inside here as well as advanced typography options. So you can then come in and let's just open this up a bit. So you can see we can do line height, letter spacing, letter transformations if you want to make things capitalized and so on. Again, I keep reiterating it. It's nothing you haven't seen before in tools like Brizy, in Elementor. It's just being done inside Gutenberg using the Qubely editor. Okay, so there's all the options we have inside there. And I don't think I need to go on. I think this is one of those things that I could keep on digging deeper into all these different widgets, but I think you kind of get an idea of the tools that you have available to you. And you've also got these global settings options. So you can see we've got theme settings, preset styles. You can create your own presets and apply those. Again, you're still not seeing those options directly inside the editor. So for example, if I choose preset 1, you can see there's all the global colors, the headings and the typography. And these are kind of like those theme styles, the style kits, whatever kind of terminology you want to use that's available in Brizy, now available in Elementor. You can style all these things up and then you can apply them to your page as a global setting. A really quick way then of applying the same settings across multiple different pages. This is just the Qubely way of working. But you don't really get to see those changes directly inside the editor, which is super frustrating from a design point of view because you're making changes and you don't really know what they're going to look like. This is kind of like taking a step back, in my opinion, to when you used to work with things like Visual Composer. Visual Composer was very much just building blocks and you really had to look at the front end to see what was going on in the design you were working with. So I think for Gutenberg to realistically be taken seriously as a design and editing tool, especially when you're using it in conjunction with something like Qubely, all those things need to be taken into consideration. We need to see exactly what we're doing on the back end when we're making changes. You can't keep jumping back and forth to see those changes. So if I save a draft now, we come over to this, we should possibly find, or maybe not, well, you can see this thing like the info box, just picked up the styling of things from there. It's just not overly intuitive. But that's not to take away from Qubely. Qubely is doing a good job in a difficult situation. But what do I think of Qubely? Is this something that I think I'll be keeping? More than likely, because I think this is one of those things that for the cost investment and the fact that we know that Gutenberg is going to be forced upon everybody in the next couple of years, you need to have tools, I think, in your arsenal that just make the whole process of designing sites just a little easier. And I think this is one of those things that's worth looking at. But if you want me to take a look at this in comparison with some of the other building block tools that you have to work with Gutenberg, like Cadence, for example, let me know in the comments section below. As always, all of the applicable links for what I've covered in today's video, including the link at the time of recording this to the Qubely option over on AppSumo, will be in the description below. If you've got any comments, questions, or feedback on Qubely or Cadence or anything else when it comes to working with Gutenberg, drop those in the comments section because I'd love to hear from you guys. As always, my name has been Paul C. This has been WPTuts, and until next time, take care.